Hello and welcome to the Get Real Football Experts podcast. I'm your host, Louie DiBi at DB Sports Talk. Check me out on Twitter. Today it's another edition of the schedule rundown. Today we're wrapping up the NFC. Dave finished off with the Cardinals and Seahawks. I did the 49ers. And now the St. Louis Rams, a team that last year was very impressive. It had the best record in the NFC West, which is arguably the best division. They went 7-8-1, did tie the 49ers in overtime. They did not lose to the 49ers, the division winner last year. Made some key acquisitions in the draft, getting Tavon Austin in the first round out of West Virginia, an explosive receiver that they've really been needing, playmaker. Getting their defense really good linebacker, Alec Ogletree, a middle linebacker out of Georgia that's really dominant. So they made some key young acquisitions, and also I like the acquisition of T.J. McDonald over to the Rams from USC, the safety, as they lost Quentin Michael. I think that's going to be a good replacement. So obviously last year they had a great defensive year. Janoris Jenkins, their corner from the second round, had some risks, but Jeff Fisher took a chance on him and it ended up panning out really good. They have one of the best secondaries in the league, in my opinion, because on the other side you got Cortland Finnegan, a corner that not many receivers like because he's aggressive and he talks, but he's a really good. It's a really good combo of really good press coverage corners. And then obviously you got some really good linemen. Chris Long is one of the best pass rushers in the game. Arguably, he's very underrated. So let's kick it off. Where in this 2013 season, a lot of people are not counting out the Rams, saying they're going to compete for this division. We'll see what happens. Week 1, they're home against the Arizona Cardinals, a team that last year just didn't have a quarterback, and that's why they started off hot. They started off 3-0 when Kevin Kolb was in the reins, only to drop. Pretty much, they only won 2 games after. So tough season for them. Obviously, Larry Fitzgerald's still there. They did sign Carson Palmer. It's home though for the Rams, and you saw what the Rams did that Thursday night against the Cardinals. They lit them up with the pass rush. So I think the Rams are going to win this game. I just think with a new head coach in Arizona and Bruce Arians, a new quarterback, new running back. I mean, a lot of these key positions, there's new acquisitions, and I think it's going to take a little bit for everything to gel. The Cardinals have a really underrated defense with Darnell Dockett and Calais Campbell, but I think the Rams are going to do this, and I think Sam Bradford is the key to a successful year this year. I think this is the year where he's got to really show that the Rams made the right decision not drafting RG3 and trading out of that second overall pick 2 years ago. So I think they're going to start off with a win. I think if the pass rush can continue to pressure Carson Palmer, make him throw the football into forced coverage with Patrick Peterson, with Janoris Jenkins, Cortland Finnegan as their corners, I think they're going to be all right here. So the only concern here, I think, is the key matchup is Daryl Richardson, the starting running back, now that Steven Jackson's gone, versus that really good Cardinals line. So I think the Rams are going to start off in a close game, but I think the Rams are going to take it and start off 1-0. Heading into Week 2, they're away at the Atlanta Falcons. You know what happened to the Falcons last year. We had a 17-point lead in the NFC Championship game, only to lose that. They did take it's a return of Steven Jackson. He's playing his former team, the Rams, for his entire career he played there, now with the Atlanta Falcons. So I mean, this team, though, was one game away from the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan, Roddy White, Julio Jones. This team is ready for another Super Bowl run, and I think it's at the Falcon Stadium. I think it's just too tough for the Rams to go into the Georgia Dome and get a win. I think they're going to drop this one and start off 1-1. I think the key to a lot of these games, I mean, this is going to be a fun matchup to watch. Obviously, you got Cortland Finnegan versus Roddy White and Janoris Jenkins versus Julio Jones. I mean, that's going to be fun to watch. Two, really fun battles. And then Alec Ogletree versus Tony Gonzalez is going to be interesting to see how this young linebacker develops. So, Week 3, they're away against the Dallas Cowboys. The Jerry Jones playhead, pal. Tony Romo has signed a 6-year deal. Des Bryant's one of the best receivers in the league, now really emerged last year. I think the Rams are going to lose this game and drop to 1-2. I think the difference between the Cowboys and the Rams is how balanced I think the Cowboys are. I think the Rams offense is really going to struggle this year. They have a lot of new pieces in place. Stedman Bailey, the third-round pick out of West Virginia, the other receiver, fellow teammate of Tavon Austin, I think is going to really step up this year. But with 2 new receivers, you got a new tight end, Jared Cook, who I think is actually going to be really good this year, and he's very versatile. And obviously Sam Bradford, another year developing, and Daryl Richardson, a new running back that last year showed some signs of goodness, but didn't really get on the field enough to show his full-time potential as a starter. So I just think there's too many pieces in place. Everything's not going to gel, I think, as quick as possible. But Jeff Fisher's a really good head coach. I just don't think they're ready to beat the Cowboys here. I think they'll drop to 1-2, and it's going to take some time to beat some of these really good teams. And I think the Cowboys are definitely a good team as their playoff potential. They're going to definitely compete for the NFC East. So week 4, they're home against the San Francisco 49ers, a team that last year they gave a lot of hard times, beating them the second game, and then tying them the first. So I think they're going to lose this one, though, and drop to 1-3. Yeah, they didn't lose to the 49ers last year, but the 49ers are 1 year better. They have arguably the best defense in the league with so many pieces in place. The defensive line, Aldon Smith and Justin Smith. The linebackers, Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman. And then corners are probably their weak spot with Nnamdi Asomugha, Carlos Rogers. So, but I just don't. I don't know. Again, it's the offense. I think that Colin Kaepernick's going to outperform Sam Bradford, and I think he's just going to score more points. And I think it's going to come down to the Rams' offense having to score on the defense. And I think that's going to be really tough. And I think Daryl Richardson's going to have a really tough time here against the 49ers, and they'll drop to 1-3 on the season. Heading into week 5, though, where they're home against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is a team that they probably should beat, and they probably will beat. Obviously, the Jaguars have some holes to fill. Obviously, Blaine Gabbert versus Chad Henne is going on in training camp with the quarterback battle upcoming in a couple weeks. I think the Rams are going to win this one, and I think the defense is just going to attack that Jaguars offense. If you can take out Maurice Jones-Drew, I think it's going to be pretty easy to take this one as a win. So, because, the defense of the Jaguars, they do have Paul Posnessny, who's a very good middle linebacker, and then they do have some good secondary, and Rasheed Mathis is a good corner, and they did get Jonathan Cyprien and second-round safety out of Florida International. I think it's actually going to be pretty good, but I think the Rams are going to win this one. I think that Sam Bradford's going to have an easy game. I think they're going to really just take a good win, and they need to get some of these easy wins if they want to be able to compete, and they'll be 2-3 heading into week 6. They're away against the Houston Texans, a team that last year, had some rough up and down. It had been an up and down season. They were started off super hot. They were the first seed, only to drop their last couple of games. They were finished off 12-4. They did beat the Cincinnati Bengals in the first round, second year in a row where they beat the Bengals, but they really just got outplayed by the New England Patriots in the divisional round. And I think that this year with Brian Cushing coming back, it's going to be big. And I'm going to give the win to the Texans, and I think the Rams will drop to 2-4. Two very similar defenses in which they have one really good pass rusher and then a solid core behind them. And but I just think that the Texans with Arian Foster and Andre Johnson, I just think there's too many explosive weapons for the Rams to stop. I think it could be close. Obviously, the Rams could keep it tight, but I think the Texans are the better team right now, and they'll win. And the Rams will drop to 2-4. So going into week 7, they're away against the Carolina Panthers, a team that Cam Newton is in town, third year coming in, had a very impressive end of the year last year, as people were saying that he had a sophomore slump in the beginning, only to really improve that and become a really, really, really good quarterback in the end. They have Steve Smith still for another year, the veteran receiver, probably the best Panther of all time. A very good Panthers defensive line that really brought the heat last year. But the secondary is a major concern with Chris Campbell gone. They don't really have many pieces, and I think Sam Bradford's going to have to attack that with Tavon Austin. I think the key is Tavon Austin versus that Panthers secondary to see how they can do. And also Chris Gibbons, because I think Chris Gibbons is going to be really good this year. He was pretty productive last year. But I think the key matchup right here is probably Jared Cook versus Luke Kuechly, because I think Jared Cook is really going to have to step up. Lance Kedrick still is there. He had some productive games last year, so I think he'll have to produce here. But I think the Panthers are going to take this one. It is in Carolina. It's going to be close, but again, the Rams are going to have some really close games as they have a tough schedule. A lot of these teams were put in the playoffs, if not contending for it. So they'll drop to 2-5, and they head in halfway through the season here at week 8 versus the Seattle Seahawks, a rival that last year they did give some hard times too. They did lose to them in week 17. Russell Wilson in town, Marshawn Lynch. It is at home. I expect the Rams to get this win though. I think they're going to at least split with the Seahawks and the 49ers. I think if they want to compete for it, and I think they're going to do it here. I think they have to win some of these tight division matchups in order to really compete for a playoff spot. Because I think if the Vikings can make the playoffs last year, I think the Rams could definitely contend for a 6th seed. No disrespect to Adrian Peterson, obviously, because of what he did was spectacular, but the Vikings don't have as a complete team, in my opinion, as the Rams do. So I think the Rams will improve to 3-5 on the year. It's going to be a tough game, obviously. The Seahawks have a great defense. They made some key acquisitions Cliff Averill is in town from Detroit. Their secondary, obviously, with Richard Sherman, Brandon Browner, Earl Thomas, and Cam Chancellor, who's probably the most underrated safety in the league, and Cam Chancellor, I think, in my opinion. So but I think they'll win this game in a close one. Jeff Fisher's gonna have to have his defense packing the heat, take out Marshawn Lynch in the game, force him, and then I think the key matchup is Janoris Jenkins versus Percy Harvin. I think that's gonna be fun to watch to see how that ends up panning out. So week 9, Cortland Finnegan faces his former team, the Tennessee Titans, at home against the Titans. It's in St. Louis. I think the Rams are going to win this one and improve to 4-5. They could get on a hot streak here. They're going to a couple games before their bye week. The Titans have, I think the Rams could take advantage. The Titans have some new acquisitions. They have 2 new guards on their offensive line, and Chance Warmack and Andy Levitra, and also Jake Locker is just another year in. 2 years that have been up and down. The first year he showed some really good signs when he came in for Matt Hasselbeck, and then last year he suffered that shoulder injury that really he couldn't really play at his highest potential. So I mean, it's going to be a close game. But I just think that Titans defense is what's really going to be struggling. Their secondary, they do have some okay guys. They have Babineau, he was a pretty productive corner, but they just don't. I don't think they have enough to stop the Rams' offense. I think Tavon Austin's they're gonna really pursue him and Jared Cook, who's also returning as a Titan. I think if they can just score enough points, because I think if the Rams defense can take out Jake Locker, I don't think this is gonna be a problem, because I think the Titans defense is one of the weaker in the league, in my opinion. So I think they'll improve to 4-5 going into Week 10, where they're away against the Indianapolis Colts. Andrew Luck, the battle of 2 first overall picks, Andrew Luck versus Sam Bradford, right before the bye week in Week 11. I think they're gonna lose this one and go to 4-6. I think the Colts know that they have to beat the teams that are evenly matched against them. I think Andrew Luck, it's pretty much just the key matchup here is Andrew Luck versus Sam Bradford, who's going to outgun the other. The Colts defense is pretty weak, is weaker than most, but they do have some good corners. I like Vontae Davis a lot. I think he's a really productive corner before when he was in Miami and now in Indianapolis. So I think that the Colts, I think it's going to be Andrew Luck and Reggie Wayne that are going to take this game. So I think the Rams at the bye week at Week 11 are going to be 4-6. So not what most Rams want, obviously, and expect, but it's not that bad compared to how tough their schedule is. If they can eke out 4 wins with all these teams, because you had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams in your first 9 games as playoff teams, and 2 other that should have made it, and that almost made it, the Cowboys and the Carolina Panthers. So, I mean, it's tough, but I think 4-6 is a pretty good record for Week 11. So Week 12, they're home against the Chicago Bears, a team that they beat last year, and we're pretty good. They're pretty evenly matched. Their secondary, it's always fun. It was fun to watch Cortland Finnegan versus Brandon Marshall. That was a really fun matchup to watch. I mean, that's always a good matchup to watch, and I think that it's going to be fun, and I think the Rams are going to pull this one out. It's home, and I think they're evenly matched. I think this is actually been a really fun defensive game to watch. Obviously, Lance Briggs and that Julius Peppers and that defense is very good. But I think that the Rams are going to win it and start off and go to 5-6. Heading into Week 13, they're away at the San Francisco 49ers. They lost, in my opinion, their first game in Week 4. And I think that they're going to win this game and improve to 6-6. So it's looking up for the Rams, and I think they have to split with the Seahawks and the 49ers if they want to at least get to over 500. And I think they're going to do that right now, and I think they're going to beat them, and I think it's going to be really the battle of the defenses. If the Rams can take out that read option and Colin Kaepernick and Frank Gore, I think they'll be all right here. They just got to score enough points and contain Kaepernick. That's all you got to do. Anquan Boldin versus Cortland Finnegan is the key matchup, in my opinion. I think the secondary is really going to be most of the matchups this year as they face a lot of good receivers. I think that they're going to win it. I think Vernon Davis is versus Alec Ogletree is also going to be good to see how the young linebacker faces some of these really good tight ends in the league. And I think they'll improve to 6-6. Heading into Week 14, where they're away against the Arizona Cardinals, who they did beat in their season opener, their home opener. I think they're going to lose this game. It is away. The Cardinals are going to compete this year, I think, for a playoff spot, honestly. I think eventually it's going to gel, and I think they have some good pieces in place. So I like their defense. I think that it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think Carson Palmer is going to upend Sam Bradford here. I think Larry Fitzgerald's going to get the best of that secondary, and we'll see how it pans out in the division. I think they'll split with every division. So that's not that bad. That's a 3-3 record in the division. That's pretty good for being probably, in my opinion, the best division and the most competitive in the league. So they'll drop to 6-7. And they have 3 games left, Week 15. They are home against the New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees is in town Sean Payton's back. Marquise Colston and Jimmy Graham, really good receiving core, and I think the Rams are probably going to lose this game. The Saints are going to be competing for a playoff spot. I think they're honestly going to compete for the division. We in our schedule rundown had them finishing at 9-7, which might give them the 6 seed playoff spot. We'll have our playoff NFC and AFC playoff picture video after our rundowns. But I think the Saints are going to win this game. I think they're the better team. I just don't think the Rams offense can be able to keep up. The Saints offense is really explosive. I think they're going to score a lot of points here, and they're going to expose the Rams defense as long as the offensive line which they did lose some key spots and they lost Jermaine Bushrod. If they can stop Chris Long, I think they'll be okay. So the Rams will drop to 6-8 on the season. They're Week 16. They're home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Greg Schiano in his second year as head coach. Josh Freeman playing for his probably starting job as he has 1 year left in his contract. So I think they're going to win this game. The Rams are. I think that they're going to attack that defense. They do have Darrelle Revis and Mark Barron and Deshaun Goldson and also Jonathan Banks, their second-round pick out of Mississippi State, corner. So I don't think you're going to be able to pass the football on these guys. If you're going to have to run with Darrell Richardson against Gerald McCoy, that's the key matchup here. I think the Rams are going to do it, though. I think the defense is going to stop Freeman as long as you take out Vincent Jackson. And also, another key matchup is Ogletree versus Doug Martin. You're going to have to contain him enough to win this game. They will improve to 7-8, bring it to Week 17. Probably not going to make the playoffs at 7-8. They're away against the Seattle Seahawks. But hey, this isn't a bad record for a team that is really improving. I think next year they're going to make the playoffs. I think it's going to take one more year of developing. They have some young, new pieces in place. I think they're going to lose to the Seahawks here, as the Seahawks are probably going to have to win this game to win the division. I think they'll do that, and I think the Rams will drop to 7-9 in the year. One half a game worse than last year, as they were 7-8-1 last year. But hey, that's not that bad for a team that has a lot of new pieces in place. I think next year, though, they're actually going to make the playoffs. So there's going to take one more year, 7-9. It's looking up. Sam Bradford is a young quarterback still. It's fourth year. So Rams fans, I know you probably disagree. Comment on my video and see what you guys think. So thanks for joining me here on Get Real Football Experts, Schedule Rundown Edition, St. Louis Rams. Subscribe to our YouTube page at youtube.com/NFL Experts. Check out all our schedule rundowns there. Also check out our podcast at getrealfootball.com. It's on the side, the Football Experts. You click on that, or they'll show up as articles now. The podcast will. Follow me at DB Sports Talk for all your NFL and fantasy updates. Check out my fantasy and Eagles articles at eaglesportstalk.blogspot.com and fantasysportstalk.blogspot.com for updated articles. And also follow my partner Dave on the Get Real Football podcast at Dave Crest Sports. Check out his blog, therealbillsnow.blogspot.com, for Bills. If you're a Bills fan, it's really good stuff there. They also have a podcast that I was on last time. And that's going to do it. Thanks, football fans. It's been real.